Welcome back. In this lesson, we're going to try to transform the way you describe your business so that we can create the most compelling scripts possible. I've mentioned several times how the concept of pitching your business shouldn't really come into play until typically like weeks or months into a conversation with a connection that you generate through the program. Today, marketing and sales are more of a marathon than ever. Prospects are incredibly turned off by any kind of sales pitch, and 99% of businesses are awful at knowing when they're pitching. Many think that they should start conversations or introduce themselves with a value proposition or a clear description of the results they generate, because doing that means they're not actually talking about themselves. But even talking about the outcomes too soon will set off what I call the prospect's IPAs, or incoming pitch alarms. That's why the missing link teaches you to focus on connecting on a personal level first, providing expertise and value that begin to generate trust and respect from the prospect. That said, you will find that a small percentage of your connections and leads will break out of your standard messaging cadence, fast-tracking the conversation. So it's critical that you have effective positioning statements in place ahead of time. In your blueprint, you'll see that the Positioning Scripts tab outlines 4 key messages that we're going to be covering today. Your business classification is the quick, simple answer to what's Acme Corp. Your elevator pitch is the most familiar message for most people and would be your primary response to a general audience when they ask, and what exactly does Acme Corp do? Positioning statements are lines that you use when introducing your business to targeted prospects. And your dead simple descriptor is a short one-sentence or fragment that clearly illustrates your offering to anyone inside or outside of your industry. You'll typically make this the first thing people see and read on your website homepage, social media profiles, brochures, flyers, and so on. There's clearly some overlap in these concepts, but also some distinctions that require us to optimize them individually. Fair warning, it's silly to discuss good copywriting without multiple references to David Ogilvy. So here we go. On the average, 5 times as many people read the headline as read the body copy. When you have written your headline, you've spent 80 cents out of your dollar. In effect, all of the messaging copy we discussed today is comprised of headlines. Headlines are critical because they're what comes first, and they're often the only thing that your prospect's going to read. They're also the quickest and easiest copy to test and optimize over time. The business classification is easiest because it's the shortest and it's typically based on existing terminology. That said, you should still choose the language that will be the most intuitive for the largest audience. Your business classification won't be limited to your persona, since you'll often speak it to friends, family, the media, and acquaintances. Examples of good business classifications. I'm a criminal defense attorney. We're a public relations firm. I'm a freelance interior designer. It's an executive marketing group. It's an executive networking group. We're an accounting software company. Note that you can specify the subcategory of your business, but we stop short of mentioning customer types, benefits, or outcomes. Now let's review some poor examples. I'm a SaaS growth hacker. That uses industry jargon. We're the largest tax CPA firm in the tri-state area. That's too detailed. We help CEOs with exit planning. That's not a classification of a business, it's a description of an offering. Now, if you've ever taken part in another positioning exercise, you may have been instructed to replace these general or typical business classifications with something more colorful, original, and meaningful. That strategy is absolutely valuable and what we'll be doing in a moment. But establishing a baseline classification based on standardized terminology is an essential first step toward ensuring consistency and setting a foundation on which to build your positioning. Easy so far, right? All right, next let's jump into the elevator pitch. This is a specific description of your business model. How it differs from some of the other messaging we're covering today is that, like our business classification, it's still a general description for a general audience. So it's not necessarily speaking to a persona yet, even though it references the value you provide to personas. The key components of your elevator pitch should include, in no particular order, the types of people or companies you help, the problems or pains those companies are experiencing, the feeling they experience because of those problems, the consequences of those problems, and how you help solve those problems. Let's review our example elevator pitch. We work with B2B businesses with at least $3 million in annual revenue that are committed to real growth but frustrated that their investments in their website and marketing tactics aren't generating the level of leads or acquiring volume of customers they need to reach their goals. We give these businesses a competitive advantage by designing and executing a sales and marketing strategy they can understand based on prospect and customer engagement that helps them grow revenue by 25 to 40% in 12 to 18 months. My litmus test for a good elevator pitch is this. If the elevator doors open immediately after the pitch, the listener should be able to simply respond with, "Got it." By covering the 5 key components we just outlined, we're addressing the most common follow-up questions you would get after stating your business classification from earlier. Next, let's play around with some positioning statements. These are specific customer problem scenarios intended to make your prospect think or say, "Hey, sounds like me." The more specific and relevant your messaging is to your persona, the easier it will be to attract and nurture your prospects. Which of these positioning statements would you expect to be more effective when communicating with the CFO of an Austin-based mobile startup? First, we provide tax accounting services to small and medium businesses across the US. Or second, we typically work with CFOs in Texas technology startups to help eliminate costly risks related to their ASC 740 compliance. Because the second statement is more specific, it stands a much better chance of resonating with the target persona. Because even a specific statement may not resonate with a persona on a first try, we typically want to have a quiver of variations so that we have several chances to hit the bullseye. Let's review some examples. We typically work with sole proprietors who are over-reliant on referrals for new clients, but who know they need a formal sales program to help them grow and prepare for the next economic downturn. Does that sound similar to your situation? We also work with small law firms that have been investing in tactics like SEO and pay-per-click advertising, but haven't been impressed with the volume or quality of leads those investments have produced. Have you experienced that at all? We also work with business development managers at mid-size accounting firms who are seeing diminishing returns on traditional marketing tactics and need new ideas to accelerate revenue growth. Does that resonate with you? You'll notice that we're using our persona's language now that we're delivering a more specific message to a more specific prospect. However, we still don't use jargon from our own industry because our persona may not be versed in such terms, and as Donald Miller says, if you confuse, you lose. Our last message is perhaps the most challenging, even though it's one of the shortest and simplest of the bunch, but it's that length and simplicity that make it tricky because you have to be comprehensive and brief at the same time. That said, I also think it's the most fun to come up with because of that challenge. David Ogilvy, our business is infested with idiots who try to impress by using pretentious jargon. I see a lot of websites with homepage headlines, the very first thing visitors are likely to see and read. They give almost no real insight into what the company does. After years of wondering if I was an idiot who didn't understand my own area of focus, which was websites, I eventually figured out that it's actually a symptom of marketers who feel the need to leverage buzzwords to make an idea sound stronger. Or as I like to say, if you can't dazzle them with data, baffle them with BS. There's a mangled quote often attributed to Albert Einstein, something along the lines of, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough yourself. So I ask you, how well do you think you understand your business? Let's examine some headlines pulled from real websites. As we go through these, ask yourself if, after reading each one, you have a good idea of what that company actually offers. I'm starting out with a bit of a trick to further illustrate my point. This is a headline from a past MacBook Air microsite. It's simple, creative, relevant, and clever. I'd be lying if I told you I haven't tried to mimic the approach before, and I'm sure a lot of you have been or will be tempted to do the same. But there's a critical difference between companies like Apple and yours and mine. Nearly everyone knows who Apple is and what they sell. They have the luxury of being able to be clever because the need to explain is minimal. You and I don't have that luxury. If we use headlines like that for our business, we'll lose, not gain, customers and revenue. All right, next one. Any channel, every engagement. No. The operations automation system for your service business. Changing the way you think about data. Workshops to help you clarify your message. Engage, convert, Measure. Real estate investment loans with real peace of mind. Leading cloud, better world. Legal counsel to help you start, run, and exit your venture like a pro. The point here is that you typically have about 2 seconds to capture the attention of your reader, whether that's on a website, in a brochure, in an email campaign, or elsewhere. Don't squander the opportunity with pretentious buzzwords or by trying to sound like Apple, when what you should really be doing is minimizing required brain power for the prospect. Simple sells, complex quells. All right, while all of this is still fresh in your mind, please pull up your blueprint and take an honest stab at replacing our examples with messaging that describes your business. When you've drafted some language you know what to do, share it in the lesson comments to get feedback and guidance. I don't care if you're shy. The thing that separates this program from others is that you have a team of experts who can help you do things right, if you let us. I'm really looking forward to reading what you pull together. See you shortly.